Alright everyone, Cody here. Welcome back to Chicken Hole Base, a series where I'm building a spaceship here in the Nevada desert. So, I returned from open sauce. Actually, it's been a couple of months since open sauce. But this has been running continuously since the last episode. I've done very little to it. I did take the tarps off to give it a bit more light, as the days got shorter, as the summer's been winding down. But really, I haven't done much. Like, I've done no plumbing, no electrical, no watering it, none of that. I've only gotten into it a couple of times. It has been doing great. I will be doing some work on it this episode, but I'm very happy with it so far. So let's flip this around. Let's head on in here. So it has not been pressurized, but it has been sealed. If I pressurized it, the small leaks would cause it to lose too much gas and water, so it's just been equalized with the outside pressure. But still, that's quite a feat, I'd say. So one of the things I did is, since it is sealed from the outside, I have to start supplying it CO2. And I've got this jug here. There's some honey and water, a little bit of yeast. Fermented into mead, honey wine. And in the process, released carbon dioxide. Roughly about half the weight of the honey gets turned into CO2. So I want to grab this CO2 detector, kind of stick this in here, make sure the atmosphere is going to be breathable. Set that over there. Well, it hasn't flipped out yet, that's a good sign. In fact, the CO2 might be lower in there, because these plants have been hungry for it. Another thing I did is I've got my mushroom containers, so the mushrooms will be producing a little CO2. We'll head on in there. I want to grab this camera. Okay, I am in. I think a fly just flew in with me. So this plant here, I think, is curly top knotweed. It's generally considered a weed, but it is edible. It has some medicinal uses, so I'm mostly just happy to have another data point of plants that like to grow in here. Definitely still have an aphid problem. You can see all these aphids. I did let some spiders come in here, and they definitely been helping, I think. See, they're catching the aphids. The only problem with the spiders, oh yeah, there's the spiders, is their webs gum things up. I don't know if you can see in there. Yeah. I might want to get rid of the spiders, unfortunately. I am breathing a little fast. Yeah. Yeah, so the CO2 is a little bit higher in here. I'm actually surprised. So, yeah, that mushroom doesn't seem to be doing much. In fact, it might be infected. Yeah, I might get rid of it. Let's throw that outside. My glasses. Okay, don't forget those. This one, oh, we got some pinning. Yeah. Fortunately, it's not really the best conditions for the mushrooms. Yeah, this one's not looking great either. I think it's just too hot. These sweet potatoes, though, look at that. So the buckets along the side that had the sweet potatoes growing in, those seem to have been mostly, like they failed. This system here, the tank up on the hill, I don't have a cooling system on it yet, and so it got basically equalized temperature with the greenhouse, so it stopped condensing water, and also the spider webs have been reducing the efficiency. So these buckets didn't get very much water. In fact, that's pretty dry. So this one's mostly dead. But this one over here, look at that. It's got aerial roots, and I suspect that's how it's still alive. Yep, it grew down into the ground and then back up. Yeah, apparently sweet potatoes did well in Biosphere 2, and I can confirm they do well here. Look at this. Of course, now I'm gonna have sweet potatoes growing all through my habitat. Have to dig them up. These cactuses, look at this. That's huge. And it's not like thin and spindly either. Like that's normal cactus pad thickness. It's good to know that these do well in here. Here's a pad that broke off that is rooted in. These tomatoes, they smell amazing as I'm disturbing them here. They're releasing lots of smell. We got a tomato growing there. I got some flowers, which I should vibrate to pollinate. And because of the humidity and temperature, they're growing roots along the entire stem. Looks like the radishes are mostly, the ones I left in here have collapsed. And yeah, this kale is, I mean, it's still growing leaves, but I need to get rid of it. It's, it's growing mold. I've really been neglecting it in here. Yeah, the carrots. What is it? Oh, it's another spider. Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's any viable seeds. So they didn't get pollinated. Oh well. Yeah, these carrots down here. Let's yank one of those. Huh? Hey, that's a carrot. Nice. Let me set this over here so I can grab it on the way out. So yeah, there's definitely aphids in here. Let's see if I can find some. Yeah, right there. Yeah. I haven't seen any ladybugs. I think the ladybugs died out and the aphids maintained. They're causing a huge mess. So I think I'm going to give in to all the people commenting to try the fumigation again. I'm going to fumigate it with carbon dioxide. I'm going to try to eliminate the aphids. This should be fun. Alright, boy, you've been watching me? Making sure I don't suffocate in there. Alright. See, I had a bucket. I'm just going to throw this in. There it is. I might grab the other one as well. Yeah. Let's get some dry ice. So I got about 40 pounds of dry ice. I'm going to start loading it in. My goal is to make the CO2 levels at least 60%. There we go. time-lapse camera. I'm just gonna keep loading chunks. Putting them in water so it doesn't get the greenhouse too cold. Look at that. The fog is expanding. Oh, I forgot. I'm gonna put a balloon in there. So I just inflate. Oh dear. Hang on. Okay, so I just inflated this balloon with my breath. I'm gonna throw it in there. And I want to see if it'll end up floating in the CO2. Woo! Now it's rocking. And the fog is slowly rising. I can feel air coming out, so let's zip this up so it can seal. Ooh, quite a bit of wind coming through there. Okay. Should start to pressurize. Yes, indeed. Bonk. So I realized the CO2 might be wanting to go down and into the regulator. So I opened this up so I can get the air to come out of the top so the CO2 will fill up the bottom. I should have put a plug in the thing down there, but this will work. Definitely lacks oxygen now. Oh, the oxygen is getting spewed out. I can kind of gauge if there's CO2 coming out just by smelling this. So I just added a bit more CO2, enough to inflate the lung. Oh, I didn't get that sealed. Okay. So here's the time lapse, and you can see the CO2 fog went away pretty quickly, but the balloon actually expanded. And when the sunlight came back, the balloon was popped. That's interesting. We'll have to look at that later. But another thing that's interesting is the plants seemed totally fine until later in the day. I think either it's because of the temperature or maybe they just ran out of their oxygen reserves. It's been about 22 hours since I put the CO2 in. Of course, it took some time for the dry ice to make the gas. It's currently 90 degrees inside the greenhouse. I've got the pumps and the fans all working as normally. Let's have a peek in here and see how it's been doing. Oh, it's like opening a soda. Got a big whiff of CO2 there. Let's just reach the... Oh, I can't stand by the entrance. Reach the phone in. I think there might be a little bit of ice left, but the CO2's all sublimated away. See, there's a piece of the balloon. Now the balloon is popped. The plants are... Oh, I cannot. It's hard for me to look. Yeah, the plants are looking a little bit wilty. I can see the sweet potatoes are... Yeah, hopefully I didn't kill them. Hopefully the aphids are gone though. I'm going to start ventilating it. On that. I'm going to pressurize it and then open it and basically flush the CO2 out. So I'm doing it this way so that like bugs don't get in. If I just leave the door open, that would ventilate it, but you see all the little bugs flying around, they would just go right in there. This way, the air has to go through a filter. And of course, when I'm releasing it, you know, the outflow will keep them from going in there. Those little guys. They seem attracted to the CO2 actually. So, this will be the 4th time I've flushed it. It's not as sharp anymore. If we can, I still can't quite get my face in there, but I cannot breathe. Okay. It seems there's a sweet spot where the CO2 concentration is low enough that your body doesn't just immediately reject it. Like if it's a pure CO2, you breathe it in and it's like, oh, that's acid, I'm not going to breathe that. Your body just immediately seals up. But whatever concentration I've got in there right now, after flushing it a few times with air, it's low enough that I can actually breathe it, and my body doesn't immediately reject it. And just a few breaths of that, and I'm like, if I wasn't standing out here in fresh air, I'd be in trouble. I'm still breathing fast. Yeah. Keep flushing it. Okay, so this is going to be the 8th time I flushed it. Yeah, so I can still tell there's a lot of CO2 in the air. But like it's not stinging my eyes. And like, yeah, it's almost breathable. I don't think I'd want to be in there. I can feel my breath accelerating, heart rate's increasing. But it's not a couple of breaths and I'm getting tunnel vision like it was earlier. Let's see what my CO2 detector says. It's probably gonna max out. Yeah, it says no. It only goes to 10,000 parts per million, and we're above that still. So I got most of the CO2 flushed out. The plants seem to have sprung back. Yeah, they seem still alive. I'm able to stand in here and breathe now. CO2 is still a little bit high, so I'm breathing quickly. But it's levels that'd be survivable now. I wanted to see if there's any aphids that I could have a look at, especially up high where the CO2 would have been lowest. Okay, there's some aphids on that. Some there. Basically get some samples. All right. take these and watch them. See if anything moves. Let me seal this back up. So it's been about 20 minutes. You can see they're starting to wilt. But this aphid, which was up at the top of the greenhouse where the CO2 would have been the lowest, is still just hanging there. Hasn't moved so much as a leg. None of the rest have moved either. So I think they are indeed dead. Seems I was successful. I managed to kill the aphids without killing the plants. So it has been a little over a week since the fumigation. You can see this is pressurized a little bit as it warms up from the night. Let's open this up. Let's see what we got. Should have most of the CO2 removed by now, but let's set up the detector to see. Alright. Yeah, the plants are not only alive, they've grown. Like this is all new growth right here. It started to flower. I do see a lot of mold patches, and I think that's because the aphids, their dead bodies, have started to rot. It's attracting mold and such. But I don't see any aphids on the new growth. I think we wiped them out. I do think I'll do a second treatment just to make sure, like if any have hatched from eggs or something. You know, even one of them surviving would repopulate the greenhouse. But I think for now, it might be a good idea to go through and remove most of this. Yeah, it's just attracting mold. Clean this up, remove all those carrots, get things ready for fall. I'll put the time-lapse camera on. Let's see how it looks. Into the compost. So there we go. We've got all that moldy kale removed. Most of the carrots, the knotweed. That's freed up a lot of space. This end of the greenhouse is still a big tangly mess. That's because it's mostly tomatoes, and I wanted to wait a while before tearing those out because we've almost got a couple of them ready. Almost got a couple of tomatoes out of here. The sweet potatoes, a lot of their leaves have been turning yellow and falling off. I'm thinking it's maybe because of the days getting shorter. But you see the tips of the vines are doing pretty good. Like this is new growth since the fumigation, so maybe the CO2 did cause them to die back. Not entirely sure. But speaking of which, I am going to do a second fumigation. It's now been 2 weeks since we did the first. I think that's enough time. If there was any eggs, they will have hatched. If there's any survivors, we want to hit them again to make sure I get all the aphids. I think that's the best way to go about it, is to give it a second treatment. We've also removed all of their favorite food sources. So hopefully we'll have won the war against the aphids. But yeah, I'm going to do the same thing as before. I got 45 pounds of dry ice this time, so a little bit more. Just going to load it in some buckets of water, and going to do it again for about 20 hours. And hopefully there'll be no more aphids. Almost forgot. This time I want to try putting a plug in the bottom down here. Okay. Now I've got a plug in there, so the CO2 can't go out through the bottom vent. Just kind of throw it in the buckets from here. Yep. Okay, it's in. Go ahead and film that. Get that shot.
I was trying to earlier, sorry.
Amazes me how much it takes to displace the air from a volume of this size. Like if I had pure CO2 in this tank, it would weigh, the CO2 in the tank would weigh 60 pounds. Wow. It's just, you don't think air weighs that much. I mean, CO2 is a little denser in there, but it's not much. It's like 1.5 times. Splish. Some crumbs left.
Did you miss?
Yeah, I lost a piece. It's fine.
You're not getting that back.
No, I will not go in there. Now I put a balloon in there again. The last one popped, and I think it actually absorbs CO2 because it's got air in there. And the CO2 can go through the rubber, and if there's no CO2 inside and a lot of CO2 outside, it basically has an osmotic effect. It tries to pull CO2 into the balloon, increasing the pressure and swelling it up. So this time I'm starting the balloon that's slightly smaller. I want to see if it expands on the time lapse. And this time I'm going to put a light on the side of the greenhouse so it doesn't get dark like midway through the time lapse. Yeah, so
Say goodbye.
one last look. If there's any aphids, hopefully they don't survive this round. Instantly starts building pressure. Now this time, since I put that plug in, the gas is going to leave through the gasimeter. It's going to push up through this line, through the cooler, and the back down and up through the gasimeter. You can see it's already starting to inflate.
Perfect
And then
timing.
it'll just naturally vent off. You see, this is just how it vents. Perfect. So it's the next day. It's gone about 23 hours since I put the CO2 in, a little bit longer than last time. The plants look okay, so maybe it's fine. It was warmer last time, so I think the temperature does have an effect. So last time I was using a little shop vac to inflate it and then deflate it multiple times to kind of flush the CO2 out. That took a long time. So this time I've got a bigger shop vac. I've got it set to blow. I've got a long pipe here. I'm going to stick this into the habitat and we're going to kind of blow air in and try to flush it a little bit faster. So I'll open it up so you can see. Yeah, the plants aren't even wilty. You see in there? Yeah, well, there's a lot of CO2 coming out here. So I've got this. I'm going to stick it in there somehow. Right down there between the cactuses. Is it most of the way closed? Yeah, I can smell the CO2 coming out at me. So now we'll be able to flush it a little bit. Hopefully this will be faster. Have a peek in there. Oh, no, don't breathe. Let that blow for a little while. Alright, so I got the CO2 low enough that I feel okay breathing it. Although I did notice that I get the CO2 flushed out and then it rises back up. And I think that's because I've carbonated the soil. Like the water has absorbed CO2 and it's releasing it. Yeah. I mean, I can feel that the CO2 is low enough. Alright, so I was going to have her hand me out, or in, a little pressure washer. So I want to clean the sides of this. And since I got buckets of water in here already, let's just drop that in one of the buckets. There we go. Let's see if this thing works. While I'm doing that, it'll just water the greenhouse. It'll add a little bit of water to the system. I'm not using any kind of soap. It looks like just pressurized water will work. It's low voltage, so I'm not going to electrocute myself. And it's all contained here, so I can run it on my own inside the pressure vessel. Don't have to run anything from the outside. Before I wash all this algae off, let's have a look at those worms that were in it. My guess is since they were up here, they're probably not doing great. You see any?
Right there.
Oh, yes. Oh, look at that.
Here.
That is clearly alive. So here's the second time lapse. As you can see, things went pretty much the same as before. This time I kept the light on so we can actually see it through the night. The plants didn't wilt nearly as much, but the balloon did also still expand. This time it didn't pop. And once the greenhouse was ventilated, and it was back to normal air, the balloon shrank again. So this tells me that it is indeed CO2 passing through the rubber that's causing the size changes. I should have pressure washed these bricks. I had the washer, why didn't I? Anyway, I'm very happy to see the worms survive the CO2 treatment, but I did want to try some different worms. I got these just in case, and I may as well still use them. They are a related species. These are night crawlers. And they like to dig deeper, and they like cooler weather. So I think for winter, they might enjoy the upcoming winter. And they will pretty much stay out of the way of the red wrigglers that are in here. Like these guys might go deep underground, and those seem to like to climb the walls. Worms. So I was looking at the soil, and I didn't see any springtails. I did see springtails in the soil before, so I think the CO2 treatment did wipe those out. So I got some more, the springtails. So let's reintroduce them. Just go like over here or something. Can you see them on the charcoal at all? In a couple of places. I think I'll save some. just so I have a breeding population I can use for other things. But that should help repopulate the place. I'm just gonna plant a few peas here. They do good in cold weather. The ones I planted in the spring, it got too hot for them and I never got any viable seeds, unfortunately. So I have to start over on the peas. And here we are with the seeds growing up a little bit. You can see I've got some spinach. The peas are about 1 foot long now and starting to climb up the trellis. The radishes are starting to develop some bulbs. Very nice. More radishes over here. There's a lettuce that's volunteering in. These carrots are still growing along with the onions. I threw some dandelion seeds. You'll see them right here. I like dandelions. Figure I'll grow a couple, see how they do in here. I know most people consider them to be weeds, but they have a lot of uses, and I don't mind their taste. You can see some kale coming up. You notice I planted it on this side of the greenhouse, so it's far away from where it was, and it's on the side that drips now. Kale doesn't seem to mind getting dripped on, so I'll take advantage of that. Looks like there's some liverwort coming up. It's kind of cool. I did not plant that there. Just showed up. You might notice that I've removed the tomato and sweet potato vines. Had a frost. The greenhouse isn't insulated yet, so it took them out. I did manage to get a couple of ripe fruits off the tomatoes. But something interesting about them is they didn't have any seeds. I wanted to save the seeds, but they didn't have any. I was thinking maybe it's because of the low light. The other greenhouse, I think I remember those tomatoes did have seeds, so maybe it's just the kind of tomato. I haven't seen the springtails in a while. It's probably just because it's cold. I don't think I've seen them last winter either. It's interestingly, I don't know if you can see that. There's a new spider web. Oh, I just broke it. So there's spiders that have either come in since I gassed it or they've survived the gassing. The worms survived the CO2, which is pretty cool. But importantly, I've not seen any aphids. I've not seen evidence of aphids. It seems like the CO2 managed to get rid of them. But it's getting cold now. I don't think they're probably not going to be active this time of year anyway, so maybe there's some eggs. Hopefully I got them before they laid eggs, but I guess we'll find out in the spring. Anyway, a couple of pieces of news. I had more stuff filmed, stuff with the tractor and such, but I think I'm going to push that to next episode, just so this one's not so long. I'll focus mostly on the aphid stuff for this episode. Unfortunately, we still haven't heard anything about RoboCody or his whereabouts. Hopefully he's not up to anything nefarious. Now, as for the chickens, there are no chickens here at Chicken Hole right now. I decided to send them off to the ranch, at least for the winter. Like the dogs keep the coyotes and foxes away, and so I let them roam while I'm here. But I ended up having 3 of the hens and 1 of the roosters die. Let me show you why. It's this foam. See how the chickens have been eating it? They love the stuff. I don't know why. It must be a texture thing, but they actively seek it out. This is how they got in. See, I've got this piece of plastic here that I keep this door blocked with and some bags of salt holding it shut. But the chickens actually forced their way through here. They pulled this open and they got in there to go eat the foam. And they ate so much that it just plugged them up, I guess. And they were dead before I even knew what was happening. So I'll definitely bring more chickens out later, but not until I've got the foam secured from them. so they can't access it. I might even tear this structure down and redo it. Just don't have any of that foam. No more. It's not compatible with chickens. I also decided that the cats, or the critter acquisition and termination system, were being a bit too indiscriminate and weren't taking care of the critters that I wanted them to. So I've replaced them with some traps, and they will no longer be allowed to roam free at base. But on a happier note, I'm actually getting packed right now to go down to Hanksville to the Mars Society's Desert Research Station to do an actual 8-day mission in their habitat. So very exciting. We got lots of stuff planned, but a few of the things that we're doing that have never been done before. So we've got our pressurized suits. We've got some 360 cameras. We're going to try broadcasting live with 360. And we've got plans to broadcast in virtual reality. So you'll be able to join and be there with us in real time. Or I think we might be doing a 10-minute delay. Anyway, I'll put the relevance links down below along with Peter's video on the topic. And hope to see you there.